Hi guys, how's it going? Do you have a good weekend? We made it last chapter, right? Last chapter, chapter 18 today. Um, so congratulations to all of us. We've been through a lot this semester, more than expected. Concerning LO 17, I don't have any feedback, very high quality of work, so thank you very much. Today we have a low 18, chapter 18, which means a low 18 is due on Sunday, and then for finals week, I'll make a video on Monday, but you can already see that it's going to be timed, right? It's 100 questions. You have one question, 1 minute per question, so you'll have 100 minutes for the whole thing, and you can take that final learning opportunity between the Monday final week and Friday midnight. So, but we'll cover that next week. For this week, I'll try to have a short video about professional behaviors and ethics. And as we're ready to start, let's start, right? Okay. So we're all responsible to adhere to some standards for our profession. But in order to do that, we need to actually know that code, and that code is related to the scope of practice and the professional practices of any profession. For us, because we're seeing it more from an ACSM perspective, ACSM was founded in 1984, right? And the EPC certification in 1986. And of course, it has evolved since then because the science is changing, so certifications are changing as well. And you can see in figure 18.1 a timeline concerning a specification, the certification is specifically the one that has to do with X fees. Now, accreditation. Accreditation is like certification, and it shows a consistent and standardized level of knowledge and skill that somebody has or offers. And you can see the certifications in table 18.1. In 2010, we should highlight that the EPC got its name. It used to be named Health Fitness Instructor. And also in 2012, we have the Exercise in Medicine certification from ACSM. That comes from a new wave of thought that we have to prescribe exercise as medicine for everything, pretty much, before we start considering, or at the same time, with any kind of, let's say, drugs. So it was something that, you go to the doctor and try to persuade them, like, look, as you're prescribing this, why don't you prescribe exercise first or at the same time? And one thing I want to tell you, and I'm not going to go into detail, but I want to explain that there is ACSM, NSCA, Cooper Institute, ACE, what else? NASM, other organizations like ICSM that offer certifications. All these organizations, in order to do that, they have been examined and they are accredited to do that. And for them, they do through NCCA, which is the most popular in the fitness industry. So NCCA is above them and allows them to give the certifications to us that are all the way down, and we're taking those exams. So above ACSM, above NSCA, above Cooper Institute, there is another organization that accredits those organizations to give out certifications. That's all I wanted to say. Now, the Code of Ethics of ACSM has their own Code of Ethics, has 4 standards, but in general, the purpose is the generation and dissemination of knowledge that has to do with exercise science, right? And while doing that, respect all individuals or people. We need to talk about 5 more areas. The following one. First of all, scope of practice. What is scope of practice? We hear about it all the time. So there are some boundaries. Where can we operate? We can operate inside some boundaries. We can do it in many ways, but we have to be within those boundaries, right? And the operational definition of an exercise physiologist, according to ACSM, I'm going to read it. That has to do with the scope of practice, is the ACSM EPC is a health fitness professional with a minimum of bachelor's degree in exercise science. The APC performs pre-participation health screenings, conducts physical fitness assessments, interprets the results, develops exercise prescriptions, and applies behavioral and motivational strategies to apparently healthy individuals and individuals with medically controlled diseases and health conditions to support clients in adopting and maintaining healthy lifestyle behaviors. The academic preparation of the EPC also includes fitness management, administration, and supervision. That's why we're covering those two. The EPC is typically employed or self-employed in commercial, community, military, studio, corporate, university, and hospital settings. And of course, the operational definition of our job through ACSM has to do with the scope of practice. And of course, the scope of practice is a document that changes all the time. It's a living document, and there is a subcommittee that goes over it from time to time and adjusts, regularly, and based on the more evidence that we know, the market, and so on and so forth. All right. The scope of practice also shows us what we should not do, what is not within our limits. And we have figure 18.2 and table 18.2 to see how sometimes our profession overlaps, our scope of practice overlaps with the scope of practice of other people, right? And as people keep texting me for some reason again, and I haven't deactivated my computer, my laptop, we can see in the scenario 1, how we can use the decision tree to understand if something is permitted if we're not sure, right? And you can see that in figure 18.3. For example, if we have nutritional counseling, right? What can we do, what we cannot do? We can do some basic, we have basic knowledge, so we can do some basic counseling about weight management, refer them to somebody else if we need to, and of course talk about ergogenic aids and supplements. We shouldn't do in-depth nutritional counseling and therapeutic nutritional counseling. These are not permitted. This is not in our scope. Okay, this is for registered dietitian, not us. Scenario 2, we have a notorious case, right? Capacity versus scratch fitness. So somebody had blood pressure, you read it, and the trainer gave ephedra, blood pressure ephedra, death. That's a notorious case and has to do with ergogenic aids in personal training. And of course, it has to do with exercise physiologists as well. Conflict of interest. So we have any financial or personal considerations that have the potential to compromise our objectivity. We have to recognize that and try to minimize it as much as possible. We need to acknowledge those relationships that may increase bias. And by bias, again, there's no objectivity, right? That's why, for example, you cannot train you cannot have a personal and professional relationship. You're biased. You're not objective. Now, how can we provide evidence-based info? So there's a big war against between evidence-based and anecdotally based information. Now, we always appreciate more evidence-based, although we should not just dismiss anecdotally based, and I'll explain a little bit. There is a 4-step approach to incorporate the evidence-based information into our practice. First of all, we have to have a question based on our client's needs or whatever we're looking for. It has to be very specific. Then we search for evidence. We use our personal experience, and that's a very good example of anecdotal information, trial and error, what we have done. Is that enough? No, because again, it's just personal. It may be biased. So we use academic preparation, all the degrees that I have, all the certifications and everything. Is that enough? No, we need more. What do we need? We need research knowledge. And research knowledge, because it goes through scientific journals that have to do with peer review process, it's supposed to have the less bias in it. So we need that evidence-based, right, information. So we take all of this, we evaluate all that knowledge because there's so much knowledge out there, right? and then we take it into our case and we customize and we use it in the most appropriate way based on how we can use that information, what our client needs, right? So there is a 4-step process. That's a figure 18.4. And also there's a huge example in the book that it can help you further if you have any more questions. As we're getting towards the end of this chapter, how can we maintain certification? Well, if you take a certification, you're not certified for the rest of your life, as you understand. Because, for example, the science changes. So if you're not getting recertified or you not update your knowledge, then you just outdate it. Okay, we don't do the same things we used to do 10 years ago. So how can we maintain that certification? One way to do it is every 3 years to obtain 60 CECs, which are some units, right, of continuing education. And table 18.4 will show you examples of how to earn those. And then, of course, you have to maintain your CPR certification. There's a series certification fee. And let's say you didn't achieve the goal of 60 CCs, you can always retake the exam. Okay, I've done it one time, I forgot. And the last thing is personal characteristics that you should have. You have to be positive, you have to be effective in communication, you have to engage in those behaviors that you want your clients to, or your patrons to engage, right? And there's an acronym in our book, WISE, that has to do with wisdom, and of course it has to do with you wanting to know more and trying to learn more. Integrity, always be work and find a way to perform your work according to those code of ethics, right? Stewardship, understand that you're coming from a long line of exercise physiologists and you have to take care of the history and their legacy and what will be your legacy, what were you going to leave, so that's how you use that information to act in the future. And enthusiasm, of course, you have to be positive and have optimistic. That's the word I was looking for. That's all for today, guys. The last chapter, we did it. Yay! Okay, I want to wish you a great week. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns. We're almost done. Keep pushing. Let's finish strong. I'm here for whatever you need. And yeah, in the meantime, you have to lift intentionally, not habitually, right? Bye, guys.